Got some good news. Just to let you guys know is that the group that went down to Quito, they're in flight heading back. They should get here by 3 o'clock this afternoon. And so definitely look forward to hearing the good news from them next week. And Keith will be preaching, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But, you know, unless you've been hiding under a rock, it's been spectacular watching the Olympics take place over the past 2 weeks. Am I correct? You know, it's been cool to just the city of Paris itself, you know, but one of the coolest venues I would have to say is like the beach volleyball, you know, with the backdrop of the Eiffel Tower there. And, but, you know, when you think of the Olympics, it's been truly inspiring. You know, the women's gymnastics team winning the overall gold, along with Simone Biles winning the individual all-around gold, and the women's vault. After not last year, but 4 years ago, she having to step out due to mental health stuff. And you know, it's so sad that they taken her to the ring. She's a quitter, she's this. And yet, I mean, she comes back and just does an exceptional job and do a phenomenal job. And then you know, just the sportsmanship as well. You know, that's Simone Biles and Jordan Childs paying respect to Rebecca Andre, who of Brazil, winning the individual gold on the floor exercise. You know, the story of that girl is amazing. She had like three ACL surgeries over the past 3 to 4 years, and just, you know, performed great. And just for Simone and Jordan to pay respect to her is just great. Then, of course, the women's soccer team, they winning gold. That's first time in 12 years. You know, can't leave out Grant Fisher. All right. Now, if you guys have ever gone to like kids track meets where it's like high school or little kids, you don't want to watch the 5,000 to 10,000 race. I promise you. It's like scratching a chalkboard. It's like, oh gosh, how long are they going to be out there? But I tell you that those two races were some of the most exciting races that you could see. This guy who they didn't even expect to place at anything like that, and he ended up getting bronze in both of those events, and so just amazing. And then of course the men's 4,000 meter relay winning yesterday, as well as the women winning, and then you can't leave out the men's basketball team, right? With the old men now, LeBron, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant beating France. You know, we were in our huddle before service started. You know, I was commenting, I was like, you know, it's exciting to see the games go on, but man, I'm getting up, Steph, stop turning the ball over, you know, just all in, just all pushed in if you're watching some of these events, right? And so the thing that you have to admit while watching this stuff unfold is that you feel just a little bit, if not a lot, patriotic, correct? You're proud to be cheering on the greatness that you're witnessing, you know, specifically those who represent the country that we're a part of. You know, we who are citizens of the United States, you know, there's a connection that we have with the victories that are unfolding. You know, even right now, it's kind of like, you know, keeping up with the total medal count, right? You know, America is blowing everybody out, total medal count. But right now, when it comes to gold, we're just right behind China. So it's like, come on. And so everybody's like, well, the women can win the basketball today, and so then we'll be tied. You know, it builds just an enthusiasm within inside of us to be a part of something greater than ourselves. You follow that? Yeah. We're not competing, but we feel so involved, we feel so a part of what's transpiring. And that's a really, really great feeling. You know, and all of this influenced just as you can see, this introduction to my sermon, but also just the introduction of the power of words and the power of thought, the power of imagery. And, you know, and it led me to this thought right here. It led me to this. If you don't know what that is the Constitution, but more importantly, I'm not saying more importantly, but it led me to think about the preamble. These words. It says, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. You know, the preamble is not a legal document. It's only an introduction to the Constitution. But it paints a vision for what this nation is striving to charter as you move forward. It shares the ideals that are being aimed for, and its conception was not perfect, or its expression for how it was going to be lived out. Because many of us here know that when that statement was made, people who look like me were 3/5 considered people. But as things move forward, things change and things transformed. And I'm bringing this idea up because there's a lot of similarities when we talk about the Beatitudes. You know, our series that's starting on the Sermon on, we're going to be talking about on the Sermon on the Mount, we just got finished several months talking through the Beatitudes. And the Beatitudes were an introduction to Jesus' followers of what living in God's kingdom was all about. You know, Jesus was setting up a new way of following God and living the good life through the Beatitudes. You know, the Beatitudes starts out, it says, now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and he sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach them. He said, blessed are fill in the blank. I specifically want to say that it was his disciples that were drawn to him, and it was his followers that he was actually beginning to teach. He was beginning to teach them about this kingdom of heaven that is on earth. These are the principles, these are the things that we are going to live out. And so it picks up with the first one, well, not the Beatitudes, but starting in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth, specifically you. Now, when we think of this you, we are so individualistic in our mindset oftentimes. We would think that he's talking about personally, me individually. But no, the concept was the you being the fellowship, the disciples that Jesus was teaching. When he said, Chip said this in his welcome this morning. By this, all men will know you are my disciples if you love one another. Not you loving you talking to his disciples. You guys loving one another will be a showcase to the world that you are my disciples. So that's the you that Jesus is talking about. He's saying you collectively, you are the salt of the earth. But if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Now, if you do some research to understand what salt meant back then, right now, salt for us is just, hey, throw on some salt on your food to season your food. But salt was a bigger and more important commodity back in Jesus' day. It has been used by humans, just giving you some bullet points about salt. It has been used by humans for thousands of years, from food preservation to seasoning. Salt's ability to preserve food was a founding contributor to the development of civilization. It helped eliminate dependence on seasonal availability of food and made it possible to transport food over large distances. So just a point from a food preservation standpoint. It says that the ancient Egyptians were the first to realize the preservation possibilities of salt. Sodium draws the bacteria-causing moisture that leads to decay of foods, drying them and making it possible to store meat without refrigeration for extended periods of time. So salt was used to preserve something, to keep something from decaying. Also, the healing properties that salt represents. Salt, sodium chloride, forces the liquid in cells to move out of the body when it comes in contact with them. If there is bacteria in the liquids, it is forced out too, helping to cleanse the skin. This is why salt water has been used since ancient times to treat cuts, wounds, sores, and skin irritations. I mean, how many of us grew up hearing that, hey, if you have a sore throat, you gargle with some salt water? Well, that's where this principle comes from. It's to relieve the pain and draw out the swelling that's going on. Also, salt, from a currency and high valuation standpoint, salt was highly valued for food preservation, but its production was very limited. As a result, in many places of the world, salt was used as currency. As early as in the 6th century, Moorish merchants in sub-Saharan Africa routinely traded salt and gold at the same value per ounce. That meant salt was equally in value to gold. That provides perspective to when we look at this now. It says that, but if salt loses its saltiness, if salt loses its value, how can it be made salty again? I think Jesus just, you know how he kind of uses words just to kind of like, salt, it's not going to lose its saltiness. But he said, it is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Could you imagine throwing gold out to be trampled underfoot because it's lost its value? No. And so the concept is that salt would not lose its value. You know, the medicinal properties that salt brings, this is the picture that Jesus is painting for us, for you, for all of us. That we are here to help preserve the earth, for people to come within to our fellowship and see the glory and the honor of God. You know, it was cool talking to Ken Perry earlier this morning as he was running copies, getting ready for his event that's his bread and butter. But it's a phenomenal and great thing, which all of us know about. And it's the camp out. You know, he was just talking about how he and Phil Little was out kind of surveying the land to kind of make sure things are set up to go because we're at a different location than we've been over the past 20 years. I mean, that's a man that is being part of the salt of the earth, salt for this fellowship. That he's preparing the way not only for us, but for us and everybody else who's going to come and be a part of something that is going to be so special, so God-honoring. That you actually experience, we know you experience heaven on earth at that camp. Am I correct? The fellowship, the laughter, the games, the food, just being in creation and seeing the wonders of God. That is being the salt of the earth. That is what we are a part of. And it's important that we have the vision that we are key components to that. Let me put this out there. There should be no reason everyone in this church shouldn't want to serve in Kids Quest. There's absolutely no reason. They should not be begging and pleading every time a rotation come up for people to go serve in Kids Quest. If we are those people, if we are the salt of the earth, this is our being. This is us moving forward. This is, of course, we want to give to the young generation that's coming up. But if we're honest, the thing that we often lean into, guys, is our comfort. It's more comfortable to be right where you are, hearing me preach and so forth, and somebody else taking care of the kids. You know, it's uncomfortable having to probably the night before look at the Kids Quest lesson or being able to be prepared to be able to give and serve and do what we need to do. But this is the call of being the salt of the earth. You know, the scripture continues on. Well, actually, the next verse I wanted to use is Colossians 4, verse 6. It says, let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. In our speech and how we talk to one another, does our speech bring healing to people? Or is it destructive at times? The medicinal properties that we talk about of salt, we want our conversation, we want the words that we say to be edifying to those who are hearing. And we know that we won't get this perfect all the time. Why? We're emotional beings that have our own hurts and stuff that goes on, and it just takes a moment's time to snap, and you're spewing stuff out of your anger, out of hurts, out of a whole lot of different ways. That's real life. But it's important that when you come to your senses, meaning that it is brought to your attention or you are made aware or your mind kind of like, bling, the light goes off and say like, you know what, that was wrong. What do you do next? Do you truly apologize humbly? Or do you just try to sweep it under the rug and just continue on? You're like, well, it's over with. Let me just move on. I mean, I know we can be guilty of both. Well, not guilty of apologizing. Apologizing is the right thing, but I'm saying sweeping stuff under the rug or letting it be or going on about your business, that's the thing that we can sometimes do. But God is calling us higher. I came across this meme, and I know you're probably feeling kind of serious, but I had to put it here. This is a picture of Jesus. Says, when you told them to be the salt of the earth, and they choose to be salty to everyone on earth instead. That is not the salt Jesus is calling us to be. We're not called to be salty. We're called to be the salt, right? Like I said, I was looking for a way to put this in there, so I found it. But the Sermon on the Mount continues where Jesus goes on to say, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. I like how he says, in the same way, let your light shine before others. And once again, that you, not being individualistic, but being collective. Yes, take an individual aspect of it, but always know that, man, we are part of something greater and bigger than ourselves. That is unique in its setup, in its makeup, in its texture, in its color. That's what we're a part of. And it's an honor to be a part of it. And so letting our light shine is that is something that we want to encourage and try to bring our friends to. It's something that we're not trying to hide from. We're not being ashamed of it. It's like, no, we're going out showcasing this to the world. Because God's glory shines within all of us so that we can shine it out. And it's important as we continue, as years go by and we continue to be a part of this family and this fellowship, there's going to always be a part of, I like to say, it's like peeling back a layer on an onion. That's what we got to continue to be willing to do. Peeling back those layers we're actively looking for ways to continue to grow and mature. We're not being stuck in the past. We're not being stuck, well, I'm good, so I don't need to do anything. No, I talk about having a growth mindset. How am I continuing to grow? How am I continuing to learn, to connect, and relate to people that I normally probably wouldn't relate or connect to? How can I genuinely build some relationships and friendships? Gosh, that's up here, my bad. Genuinely build relationships with people that will enlighten me, but also I'm bringing my very best self forward, showcasing God's glory and showcasing his love. And you know, and I like to say it's not just carrying a patch on your arm that says, I am a Christian. Look, I'm a Christian. Y'all follow me with that? I'm saying that our actions and our attitude, the way that we speak, that, you know, I wouldn't even have to ever tell anybody that I'm a Christian or like I told you guys earlier, I don't go around telling people I'm a minister. It's like, no, I'm living my life and striving to connect and genuinely be with people so that they can see and understand who I am and begin to learn my life. And, you know, and like I said, as we do that, as we be that, as a church, you know, God is going to continue to get all the glory and honor. Lives that are outside of this room will come in and be impacted. Our lives, while being in this room, will continue to be impacted and transformed. And that's for us continue to have that growth mindset and spirit of God, continue to teach me. I want to learn. I want to grow. And so as we transition to communion in just a moment, you know, I think it's important to reflect on how God is calling us, like I said, collectively to be the salt of the earth. He's calling us to let our light shine so that others will be able to see. You know, Paul told Titus in chapter 2, verses 7 through 8, he said, in everything, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us. You know, that's a powerful charge that Paul gave Titus. But I think as believers, you don't have to even feel that that's a powerful charge to you individually and us collectively. That in everything that we do, we're setting an example by doing what is good. That in our teachings, we're showing integrity. We're being integrous about the way that we live our lives and the things that we talk about. That it shows up as we speak to people. Seriousness and soundness of speech. You know, being able to have clarity as we speak about the things of God. As we speak about, hey, this is how we're striving to raise our family. You know, I'm looking forward to our time this afternoon after church, where the teen and middle school parents and the students themselves are going to be spending the time in prayer, getting ready for the school year that's starting tomorrow for some and Tuesday. Lifting their year up in prayer, lifting their schools up in prayer, lifting their administrators and their teachers up in prayer, lifting the parents up in prayer. Why? Because that's our desire to radiate God's glory and his goodness. Because it says that sound is speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you, those who may malign you or speak ill about you, they may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us. Brothers and sisters, that's what we are a part of. That's what we are a part of. We are the salt. We are that light on the hill. And God is going to continue to use us. And it's important for us to continue to consider, God, continue to renew my heart, continue to renew my mind. Help me stay active in my faith. as I continue to progress. These are the thoughts and the things that I want us to meditate on as we head into communion, and then I'll pray for the bread and the juice. Let's meditate. Father, thank you for calling us to be the salt of the earth. Father, a collection and a body of believers who are walking these things out. Father, to really showcase to the world your glory and your honor. Father, let these things that we're going to be learning as we study the Sermon on the Mount, as challenging as they are, Father, help us truly want to embody them. Father, for them to be our very being. God, we ask that you continue to be with us. Give us the grace and mercy that we need to continue to persevere and just be like your son, Jesus. We're grateful for his example, the life that he lived, the sacrifices that he gave up for each and every one of us. God, making this fellowship even possible. And so, guys, we take the bread and the juice that represents his broken body and his blood that was poured out for us. Father, help us take it with gratitude. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.